Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to do a tour on an island and on land.
Good morning everyone, this is Jack and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going out into the water, literally being picked up by a boat, and we're going to go try to see some dolphins and snorkel. So let's go. I don't know if we're gonna fit in that. That's our taxi to go to the boat.
Adong Pandaran? Adong Pandaran?
Okay, so if you haven't been following my Filipino adventures, go ahead and check out the playlist that I have on my channel. I am on day 4 of this specific trip this year, and we are going to Balicsag Island, which is an island in Panglao, Philippines. We stayed here for about 3 to 4 days, and today we were going to try to go see dolphins as well as swim with sea turtles. Unfortunately, the tide was really high this morning, and so we didn't get to see any dolphins. There were a bunch of boats that were waiting also, but after half an hour, our guide told us that we should just go ahead and snorkel. Fast! Flippity doodles. Tally ho. And in order to snorkel, because this is a protected area, we had to rent a guide that is licensed. I don't know. He didn't really do much except for point out one turtle and bring us to another portion where we could see coral reefs, but gotta follow the rules here. So the boat ride took about an hour or so to get here, and this island is nestled off the coast of Bohol, and it's a haven for snorkelers, divers, beach lovers with really vibrant coral and marine life. Jeez. It has crystal clear waters as well as an abundance of sea life. My mom had visited the Great Barrier Reef in Australia recently, and she said this was pretty comparable. The best time to visit this island is during the dry season from November to May, which is when waters are pretty calm and visibility is at best. Mornings are ideal as marine life is most active during that time, and the waters remain pretty serene and undisturbed. This is a marine sanctuary and turtle point where visitors can swim alongside gentle sea turtles in their natural habitat. For those who don't need the life vest, which is required for pretty much every snorkeling guided tour, you could actually get closer to the coral and see up close schools of jackfish, barracudas, and reef sharks too. Some of you might know from my Japan trip a couple years ago that I worked on the Little Mermaid 3D conversion, and under the sea is pretty much like this. Like, there's so much life all around, and they're just all hanging out together, you know, in colorful coral and all. Swimming in the ocean is one of those things where if you are in a location like this, it almost seems like you're swimming in an aquarium. And I mean that in the best way possible. It just is so clear, and there's such a multitude of different fish with different colors. I really wanted to like sketch as I was swimming, and of course it's impossible to do that, but I tried to take mental images of all of the types of fish that I saw because the footage can only do so well underwater inside a bag. I think my dad had a better underwater camera case, but the footage that he had was awesome, and the guide that we had literally took it and went down close to the reef so that he could get that type of footage. Also, speaking of our guide, he was like a mermaid or a merman. He would dive down with his snorkel, hold his breath, and then like blow these amazing perfect circle rings that would literally span the entire time of when it was blown all all the way to the top. It was pretty magical, and this is the type of tricks that people do in China and all over the world actually for their entertainment purposes as professional mermaids. So that's really cool to see that he has mastered that technique. Also, in the second part of where we're about to go, he gave us a packet of crackers. If you're Filipino, you know skyflakes, and they had these in their hand, and hordes of fish came over to take whatever morsels that they could from my dad's hand. It was such an amazing experience. I think from the time that I swam alongside whale sharks, it's just like so surreal because you never see these creatures on a day-to-day basis unless you are a diver or unless you do these guides every day and take tourists along. But it's kind of amazing, and I could spend there like hours, literally hours, just swimming alongside all of these creatures, and it's so abundant here. It's really insane. I appreciate how little trash I saw in the water, as well as, you know, just the mentality that the government has to try to keep what they know they have up to date and valued. So our guides were really nice, and they asked us if we wanted to snorkel around the outer part of where we were staying in the resort, and we said yes, and luckily we did because there's so much life here too. It was a lot closer, and there's just so many things to see at one time. It's kind of overstimulating if you look at the grand picture of things, but you never get bored underwater, I swear. There were striped fish with ombre colors, silvery scales, blue, yellow, black, white, orange, red, every other color in between, and it was just so magical. This is the clip that I was talking about where my dad was putting cracker flakes into the ocean, and all of these fish just came up like they've never had a meal before. I mean, they probably don't usually eat crackers anyway, so this was probably a treat. And then I don't know if this was a coincidence, but there was this huge school that was approaching our way, and I don't know if they took a detour or were already heading this way and decided to join in on all of these munchies that are floating in the water, but it was really cool to see everything up close. And the funny part is, none of the fish ever touched you. They were very good at maintaining their personal space and still trying to eat these tiny pieces of food. Another thing that I liked about snorkeling, and I've done snubaing, which is kind of half snorkeling, half scubaing with this flotation device full of oxygen and Catalina Island, was the fact that it's kind of meditative. Like, you don't really hear anything except for your ears being underwater, and it kind of puts you in this meditative zen space. Like, I could swim for hours, and also you didn't really need the light vest, obviously for safety reasons, but also the sea water is so salty that your body just naturally floats, and so all you really have to do is kick. Like, I barely used my arms, but in this meditative state, I feel like you could just swim for hours and hours, or as long as your body could physically go for, depending on how fit you are. And speaking of fitness, I don't usually exercise on the regular day-to-day, which I'm trying to change, but it sucks that whenever I go onto a vacation, that's the fittest I will get throughout the year because I'm always walking around for literally miles, and I'm so stimulated by everything around me, whether that's walking or swimming or a combination of both. And literally by the time I leave the Philippines, I notice that my body is so much more toned and fit and tanned, and there's a lot of positive changes. And so I wish I could integrate that more into my daily life, but it's tough when we are ruled by this structured system of needing to be sedentary because we're working and doing things on the internet that require us to be stationary. It's such a 180 of what I think our human experience should be. We are curious, creative beings, and even if you don't know how to do art with any ounce of your body, you know how to think up ideas or concepts, or you know how to take up a different type of medium, and you can argue that anything in life is art. I know I'm going on a tangential rant, but hear me out as you enjoy the footage that I've taken from 4 hours condensed into 10 minutes. Yeah, I just feel like a lot of us are limited in our human experience, and we have to really take the time to want to break that cycle, whether that is through vacations or through experiencing music festivals or going camping and just disconnecting ourselves from the internet, because it's so easily adaptable and integrated into our lives. It's just so easy to access. People have free Wi-Fi now when you go to a cafe, or if you're at a store, you could check to see if there are inventory things online, and it's just so much. We need to just appreciate nature and what's around us for what it is. There are things in front of us, literally in front of our eyes, that we are missing or that we don't usually appreciate. And so there are times like this where I'm very grateful for being able to travel and spend time with family and friends and explore the world together, because life is short. As much as we enjoy it or time seems to slow down sometimes, like, look at all the years that are passing by as we get older. It's kind of crazy. And, some people who are at an older age, they're just like, I don't know where the years went by. And that's why I also try to make these videos, is because I want to remember all the things I do. I want to see all the things I've done. And if I'm ever in a dark place in my life, which is kind of often, even though I seem like I party and do all these things, because we're trapped in this gilded cage of society, it is kind of depressing. And so I try to look at the positive. I make these a diary / visual journals for myself to remind myself, hey, look at all the cool stuff I've done throughout my life. Okay, end of rant, back to nature. So these shells are filled with like these slugs that you could actually eat if you boil them out of the shells and then cook them really well. And on the shells are these algae that have grown and stuck to the surface. And if you rub them together, it actually releases them. And that's what fish also eat. So that's what our guide was doing. My mom really wanted the shells because if they were just going to eat what was inside and toss the shells, she was saying that it was going to be such a shame to toss them and not bring them back as souvenirs. And so she made a date to find them afterwards to try to take the shells, and they had scrubbed them for us, minus the abalone one. That spotted shell, I think they said that it broke during the process of them trying to get the slug out, but who knows, maybe they ended up keeping it or selling it. Back to land, we thanked our guides, and then my parents went back to the room to go take a nap, but I decided that I wanted to go snorkeling again in this area because the last time I tried, I didn't have water shoes on, and yeah, you totally need them. There are a bunch of starfish and sea urchin all around. And the night before, actually, I saw another guest with a swollen ankle and foot, and I think he accidentally stepped on one of the sea urchins. So abide by these signs and don't go into water without your shoes, because some of these are really pointy, and which you'll see in just a second. So these starfish are kind of like the ones from Davao, and if you have missed that, go check that out after this video. But all of the dark areas on the starfish are pointed and spiky. I found a bunch of husks of the sea urchin. So once they die, I guess they shed their spikes and then they hollow out and become these really fragile balls that look like sand dollars on them, but they're from sea urchins. Lots of colorful little fish around these grassy areas, but a lot of ones that are also camouflaging. Like they literally look green and brown and are striped long like these grass blades. I tried filming a bunch, but I think you might not be able to see it because it's camouflaged during playback. Also, another reason why I was able to hold the camera more still in these calmer waters was because, again, I didn't need a life vest to float. We had already returned our life vests, and I was just floating and holding the camera with both of my hands and just kicking to move myself around. I also looked it up, and it was the last quarter moon phase during this time, and apparently neap tides occur when the moon and the sun are generally perpendicular to each other in respect to the Earth. This produces the smallest tide range. All right, and you think that we're almost done with touring the day, but nope, this was just half the day.
Dang, it was so high tide and now it's low tide. Like, look at this. It's crazy. You could literally just walk. These are all the wrinkles.
We were actually going to tour on land in the second half of the day. But first, lunch at the poolside. We just had a fried chicken sandwich as well as barbecue bacon cheeseburger and fries. All right, first up on this land tour was the Nova Shells Museum. This is a massive private display of seashells collected by one guy and is among one of the world's largest of its kind.
Oh, endangered species. Wow. That's huge.
We kind of breezed through each of these sections, but there was just so much to look at and we had more things to do, so we kind of hustled.
Ilan kayo? Yes. Pero existing pa rin ito since kino-culture na ito mga siya. Sa Bulinaw, Pangasinan. Ganyan kalaki? Hindi lang ako sigurado from Bohol. From the Philippines. Ito naman, gawa na lang ito.
Wow.
Handmade. Yes. Kasi andito ba? One of the smallest shell in the Philippines. 1,000 USD.
Oo.
Adult size na yan, ma'am.
Paano nakita yan? I mean, how can they see?
Yes. Ano po, natagpuan yan by accident kasi nadikit sa mas malaking size ng isang shell. Kaya na-discount na na-develop. So, pag fully grown, ganito yung picture. Sea sponge that glows in the dark when it's alive. Or mga bioluminescence.
That's the one in blue.
Neto kachip. Sea sponge, Venus flower basket. Eto naman, itong mga shells na to, nagko-collect ng other types sting ka ng living mollusk inside.
Yeah.
Pwedeng ma-paralyzed or worst thing, pwedeng mamatay. Any size, as long as it is cone-shaped shell, venomous. Unfortunately, he passed away last year.
Oh, last year now?
At the age of 83.
So all these years?
Pearls na nabubuo nila. Doon po nila nakukuha yung kuba.
They look like monsters. Little monsters.
Kirino Hora was the guy who had dedicated decades to exploring the seas and conducting extensive studies, amassing collections of these seashells and mollusks. Unfortunately, he passed away last year, 2024, well into his 80s. But his legacy lives on with every shell that has been collected and displayed.
There's bats.
Supposedly the water is cold and it's salt water.
Hinagdanan Cave is an underground delight for newbie spelunkers and conductive for swimming until 4 p.m. every day. There are stalactite and stalagmite formations and a clear lagoon that is about 10 to 20 meters deep. It actually played a big role during Japanese invasion. Somebody had found this cave by accident, and that's where a bunch of the locals escaped out into the sea. It started raining pretty heavily, but luckily we got to the car before it poured. Next up, we're visiting the Taoist church shrine. And of course, by the time we arrived, the sun came out already. This church is the Church of Our Lady of Assumption. It's famous for its miraculous underground water well that's supposed to be healing. I don't know, I'm just into the architecture and the birds. Okay, next up was the Bohol bee farm. This was actually my favorite stop of the entire tour. This is a 3-star hotel that actually is in a prime location off the coast and one of the city's biggest attractions. This farm is known for using organic methods and caring for the environment. They offer a variety of services and activities such as a 30-minute farm tour, crafting workshops for employees, and a viewing area where you can watch the process of turning natural ingredients into organic products. They also have a ice cream area that they make in-house.
Wow, 200 colonies. I love raffia. Just said that. Oh, that. It's like paper. Paper. Even this couch is woven. Whoa.
That's why it says creativity takes courage.
And patience. That production.
The best things in life are handmade. Well, it's a bee.
They got a massage area. Oh, she's doing it. Okay. Step in and find out. Oh, it's nice. It's nice. It's cool. It's fine. Wild orchids. This is cute. No wonder I like white and gold filigree. Kitchen sinks.
Yeah, but this is a lot of kitchen sinks. I wonder what it's for.
Zombie. Be cool. Be strong. Motivational quotes.
Peanut butter.
You can put it on the squash bread.
Tinky walk.
Corn muffin. Squash muffins. Cute. It is magnet.
Yeah, but I don't like the bottle opener.
This is normally the tour. We got a late tour.
Yan yung bestseller. Kano yan, KJ? 540.
Avocado. The malunggay was pretty good too. It's so hot. Cute seating area. And birds. Watching like a bird. Birds? Hey, that was us this morning. In the car.
All right, time to head back to the resort. What a long day. I think we skipped dinner for this day just because we also had a pretty heavy lunch and my parents were pretty tired. I let them shower and get to bed before I took over the bathroom. I think I deserve a bath. I only take one every year or every other year. Usually, it's 5-minute showers. So soothing. I talked to my partner while I was in the bath, and I probably chilled here for about an hour to an hour and a half. It's kind of crazy how much my hands wrinkled in fresh water versus the ocean. Anyway, that is all I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share so that other people can learn more about the Philippines and their coral reefs. Subscribe and click the notification bell so that you know when I have new content out. I post every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And until next time, keep curious, everyone. Jack out.